Afternoon, everybody. Hope your day's as beautiful as mine is. It's just sunny and gorgeous out here at the lake in Gary, Texas today, and I have been craving chili. Now, I know it seems like a weird time of year for chili because it's not fall yet, but I've been craving it, so I want to make for you a very simple little recipe. I like my chilies to be rather simple. I have participated in some chili cook-offs before, and it was a lot of fun. But you have to put a lot more ingredients in it and make them really unique and special. But I love my chili typically just to be very simple, very basic, with lots of chili powder and lots of cumin. I love cumin. Now, it's way too hot to crank up the oven. I don't want to heat the house up. And I love cornbread with my chili. So I'm going to make cornmeal dumplings for the top of it. They're really good. You just drop them on by the spoonful, and they just steam, and they're just delicious. You've got your little bites of cornbread with your chili. So I'll show you how to do that. Let me get started by chopping up this onion. I love a lot of onion in my chili. Okay, we've got those onions chopped. So I'm going to add a couple tablespoons of oil right in my pan. Oh, hello. And then I'm just going to put my onions and get them started so they're turned to crisp. Now I'm going to go chop my garlic. We'll add this garlic in when the onions are just done. You don't want to burn our garlic. It has a bitter taste. Just want to mince it. So I'm using a combination of meats for this chili. I think that's what chili's about. You put in it what you've got. I've got a pound of diced up beef, and I had some leftover patties from making hamburgers. And so what I'm going to do is just mix the two together. For this particular chili, you could use chicken, and I've done that before, and it's delicious. But instead of the beef broth that I'm going to use, if you were doing chicken chili, you would use chicken broth. It's very, very good too. But today I was craving some beef chili. Now, just use what meat you have in the freezer. If it's diced up, if it's ground, you'll be fine. Now, to my meat mixture, I'm going to add about a heaping tablespoon of flour. It's going to thicken the chili. The chili powder thickens it a little bit as well, but this will help that even more so. Just mix it in real good. Now let's go over there and check on the onions and add our garlic. Okay, the onions are translucent, so let's go ahead and add our garlic. Give that a little stir. And just let that cook until it gets fragrant for a couple minutes. Okay, it's been about 2 minutes. It's smelling absolutely delicious. Let's add our beef mixture. We're going to brown it. We're going to see how much grease is in the pan, and we may drain that off. We don't want a real greasy chili. So let's just let that cook down, and we'll come back and check it. Just keep stirring it every now and then. See, we're getting there, but not quite. And you want to leave some big chunks of meat, your hamburger, if you're using hamburger, because that is the good part. Okay, the meat's almost brown over there, so in the meantime, let's make our spice mixture. So I'm going to do a heaping tablespoon of chili powder. And let's do 2 actually. Let's do 2 of these, and a heaping tablespoon, and I mean heaping, of cumin, because I love cumin, always have. And I love this Mexican oregano. You can put it in or not, but I just think it gives the chili something special. I love hot sauce. Not a lot, probably about a half of a teaspoon. And we're going to stir that together. And we're just going to go over there and start adding our ingredients. Now your chili, you can make it as mild or as spicy as you want by the amount of chili powder that you put in it. If you notice, I put in quite a bit of chili powder and cumin. Why don't you start out with half the amount I did, unless you like it spicy. And after it's simmered for a while, give it a little taste. Then you'll be able to decide if you want to add more. And give them a stir. Let them cook for just a minute or two to get hot and let the flavors bloom. Oh mercy, that smells so good. Now let's add some salt and pepper. Here's the pepper. I've got about a teaspoon, maybe 2. And then we're going to add some salt, probably about a teaspoon of that. Let's give that a stir in. How pretty. Love the color of it. Next, you're going to get your favorite brand of diced tomatoes, or fresh if you've got them, which I don't right now. The garden didn't produce much this year. It's kind of a bummer. Now, let's go get our beef broth. Okay, I've got a box of beef broth here. So let's see how much of it we use. We're going to let this cook down for about 3 hours. All simmer together. I probably got about 3.5 cups here. So let me crank that up and get that come to a simmer. And I'll leave the box out, and if I need to add to it later I will if it cooks down, because we want it to reduce. Okay, this is thickening up nicely and cooking down. So now I'm going to make those wonderful cornmeal dumplings for you. Let me show you. Okay, now it's time to make my favorite part, the wonderful cornmeal dumplings. Like I said, when I turn that oven on, it just heats this house right up. So doing this, I still get my cornbread. So let's show you how simple these are. Just another really, really simple way to get your cornbread. We're going to mix all of our dry ingredients. I'm just going to dump it into this sieve because I don't want any lumps really. So we're going to have 1/2 cup of flour, and we're going to have 2/3 cup of cornmeal. And we're going to have about a teaspoon of salt. So let's put that little dry ingredient in there. We're going to have some baking powder. I think it's 2 teaspoons. Yes, 2 teaspoons of baking powder. Just had these the other day when I made some beans. I floated them on top of the beans. So good. And I think that's all of our dry ingredients. Got the flour. Oh yeah, now I want to add a tablespoon of sugar. These are really good to add that little bit of sweetness, just a hint, to your batter. There we go. So let's just sift that in here and get all the lumps out. Of course, don't want big bites of baking powder. Yuck, that would not be good. Now let's add our wet ingredients after you've stirred that up very well. Make you a little well in the center of it. Pour in your 1/3 cup of milk, whole milk. You could use buttermilk if that's all you had, half and half. 1 egg, beaten, slightly beaten. Oh yes, and a tablespoon of oil. Let's add 1 tablespoon of oil. If you don't have any oil, you could use butter. This is peanut oil. I love peanut oil. We're just going to blend it together really well. And it'll make a stiff dough. But it's all moist all throughout. That's exactly what you want. See, I've got about, maybe 2 cups of dough here. Now let's just drop it right into the chili, right on top of it. Now I like to give my spoon just a little spray of oil so that it doesn't stick to the dough. And you want to make little golf ball size pieces. Just lay them right on there. nothing to it. And you do not want to flip these over. You want them dry on the top. So you're just going to lay them on top just like that. And these are going to puff up, like double in size. I'd say these are not quite golf ball, more like walnuts, big old walnuts, but you could go up to golf ball. And they hold together and they're very firm and just like cornbread. Absolutely delicious. Now I'm going to cover them and I'm going to cook them for 20 minutes. Okay, I'll set the timer. And by the way, I've got the temp down as low as possible because we do not want to burn the bottom of your chili while these are cooking. So just as low as possible. Let me check on our delicious little dumplings. Oh yeah, they're firm. Firmed up good. I think they're done. Been going about 15 minutes or so. Oops, didn't want to flip it. Don't want it to get soggy. Okay, I'm going to serve up a bowl. Okay, the dumplings are done. Chili's done. It's finally time to taste this deliciousness. Just want to sprinkle it with a little bit of green onions, of course. We'll put some cheese on here, some sour cream if you chose. I like it just like this. Let's give it a whirl. See, they're just the texture of cornbread. Let's get a little onion, little cornbread. Prepare to have a messy mouth. Oh gosh, so very, very good. Just such a pretty little dish. So simple to make. These onions, I love the freshness they add to it. I think you're really, really gonna like this. At least I hope you do. It's been so nice being in the kitchen with y'all again, and I can't wait to do it again. Toodaloo.